so incredibly delusional about how famous I was and was going to be. You're saying a lie over and over and over again, and then one day, the lie is true.
Lady Gaga is one of the biggest superstars on the planet, but before the Grammys, the sold-out stadiums, and the global fame, she was just Stefani Germanotta, a young artist playing small clubs in New York, trying to convince the world that she belonged on a much bigger stage. Long before the world knew her name, Gaga was already rehearsing the identity of the person she wanted to become. Gaga's story reveals a fascinating formula for turning an imagined identity into a real one. Let's break down exactly how she did it. Most people wait for evidence before they allow themselves to believe in their potential. They think, once I get the job, I'll feel successful. Once people recognize me, I'll feel confident. Gaga approached it from the opposite direction.
Fame for me is not external, it's internal. So I've been famous for a long time, and I certainly know that my destiny is to be a storyteller in the world and a liberator in the world.
Gaga has described fame as something internal, something she felt she possessed before the outside world confirmed it. Instead of asking, what evidence do I have that I'm going to succeed, you start asking, who would I have to become for this to feel inevitable? Gaga understood that your current circumstances don't necessarily represent your final destination. She repeatedly told herself what she wanted to become, and eventually that story became part of her identity. And the more you repeat a belief, the more naturally you begin to act from it. And slowly your behavior begins producing evidence that supports the identity you created. That's the first part of Gaga's formula. Become internally familiar with the future before it's externally visible. But believing in a new future isn't always enough, because eventually your old identity starts fighting back. For Gaga, that old identity was Stefani Germanotta. Stefani had many insecurities. She had experienced rejection, she had been dropped by a record label, and if she kept defining herself by those experiences, they could continue determining what she believed was possible. So she created Lady Gaga. And Gaga wasn't simply a stage name, it became a psychological transformation. She changed the character she believed she was playing in the world.
To become the superstar she was meant to be.
I was able to leave such a massive amount of insecurities behind me by getting rid of that name in a way. And I still am very insecure in so many ways, but I wish I could give that gift to all my fans. You have the freedom to pull the superstar out of yourself that you were born to be. We are all born superstars.
And this is where the alter ego becomes incredibly powerful. An alter ego can create psychological distance from your fears. Instead of asking, what would I normally do? You ask, what would the version of me who already has this do?
I was so incredibly delusional about how famous I was and was going to be. I always believed so deeply in my heart in my gift to make music and to perform, and that I was a star.
Now we get to one of the most important parts of Gaga's mindset. She was willing to look delusional. Gaga has spoken about having an almost unreasonable level of belief in her future. She even described herself as incredibly delusional about how famous she was going to become. Every ambitious dream looks unrealistic before it becomes reality. And that's exactly why Gaga talks about having nerve.
Washington Street, and I'm like, who are these kids? What the hell do they think they are? But that's exactly it. It's the nerve. All you gotta have is nerve. That's the one thing that keeps me up at night. I say to myself, who the hell am I to do what I do? Why do I deserve this? Who am I to do this? And
you have to be willing to tolerate the period where your vision is bigger than your evidence.
And if anyone said, who is Lady Gaga, I would be okay with, she is the most impressive con artist of fame. I mean, I literally trick people every day into believing that I'm somebody, and I'm not.
Gaga has spoken about the importance of canceling out the noise and focusing on your own thoughts.
I have to shut it all out. The noise. You know the noise. The noise, it's loud. You have to cancel out the noise and remember that it's your thoughts that matter.
This is where the inner shift happens. You stop allowing your circumstances, your critics, or your past failures to tell you who you are. Instead, you decide who you want to become. Not only Gaga worked on her identity, she also worked hard and took action towards her goals. She continued creating when there was no guarantee that any of it would work. That's the difference between fantasy and manifestation as a practice. Instead of always thinking, one day this will happen to me, you have to ask yourself, if this is the person I'm becoming, what would I do today? Once your identity changes, your behavior starts changing with it. Lady Gaga's story isn't simply about getting famous. It's about what happens when you stop letting your current circumstances define your identity. Before the world saw Lady Gaga as a superstar, she saw herself that way. She repeated the story. She created an alter ego that allowed her to step outside her insecurities. She embraced the nerve to believe in something before there was proof. She protected her mind from the noise, and then she backed all of it up with a relentless action. That's the real lesson. You don't have to pretend your current reality doesn't exist. You just have to stop treating it like it's permanent. Because the person you are today is not necessarily the person you have to remain. If you want to fundamentally change your reality, you have to start by having the absolute nerve to believe in your own vision before anyone else does.
You have the ability to self-proclaim your own fame. You have the ability to experience and feel a certain amount of self-worth that comes from a very vain place by simply like your choices, your opinions about fashion, your opinions about music, your opinions about politics, the way that you walk down the street, the way that you carry yourself at parties. I mean, you can literally choose to have fame.